Hello, I just finished reading Heated Rivalry, and I wouldn't necessarily say that I hated the book, but it definitely wasn't my favorite thing in the world. I loved Game Changers so much, and Heated Rivalry was just not it for me. There's no better way to phrase it than I like plot with my porn. And it's kind of frustrating when the plot doesn't kick in until halfway through the book. Like, that was just incredibly frustrating to, experience. Because, I read this at work because I read a lot at work. I have a job where I spend a lot of time where I can read at work. And so there was just a running gag between like me and a lot of my coworkers of how many pages Ely and Shane could get through without fucking each other essentially. And it was just so frustrating to read this book because I'm like, God, it's like a sex montage essentially for the entire first half of the book, and then it slows down exponentially, which I feel like I owe an apology to the show because I think I talked about that in my show review where I was like, all of a sudden, like, there's all these montages and then it like slows down. Like, I think when you get to like episode like 5 or something like that. And so I owe the show an apology because it's not the show's fault, it's the book's fault. And I found that so frustrating that it's like, you obviously you're trying to fast forward their interesting relationship, but it's just like there's nothing happening for the most part. Like, you're kind of inside their heads a little bit, which is nice to read in book form, being like, what are they actually thinking? But then you get halfway through and then everything just like slows down. And it wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but I found it really frustrating that it's like I finally got through like halfway through the book and me at work was like, the plot finally started in this book. It's a miracle. There's plot. And I found it so annoying to like read and stuff like that, and I didn't like it. But I did like figuring out what's inside their heads. I thought that was really interesting because like obviously you can portray a lot through acting in a show, but like it's you can't really get through their heads as much in the same way. And so it was nice to be able to see what the two of them were thinking about their relationship, and that it very much is like, because Ilya always puts up this front that he's an asshole, and it's like, yes, he is kind of an asshole, but it's also sort of like a defense mechanism, and that it's like he too, loves Shane to a point where he was like genuinely terrified of it and wanted to like break it off with Shane, but Shane then got his concussion, and so that sort of like put that into like a spot. I will say that I liked, aside from the like bonus chapter in the book of like getting dinner with Hayden and Jackie, I liked the way that the book ended in it. I mean, it was cute in the show where they sort of like drove off into the sunset from Shane's parents' house, but I liked that in the book they like genuinely talk about like more of the game plan of what to do to like announce their friendship and eventually like kind of come out to the world, but also like genuinely talk about getting married. It's like this is a very serious relationship for the two of them. And so I did like the way that it ended in the book a lot more. I do like that we've still emphasized through Shane's parents and through Hayden that nobody has an issue with Shane being gay. Everybody has an issue with Shane dating Ilya Rosanoff. They're like, no, 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 you being gay, that's fine, that's cool. Why the fuck did it have to be Ilya Rosanoff? And it makes me laugh every single time. It's just like, oh my god, they just really fucking hate Shane's boyfriend. It has nothing to do with the fact that he has one. It's to do with the fact that who that boyfriend is. So I thought it was interesting. I think I prefer the show, and I'm not, I think I said this in something else, but I tend to sort of like take adaptations away from each other because I look at them in separate things, which is honestly why I like to prefer to watch an adaptation before reading a book, because sometimes it's like nice to see how they interpreted that thing. And I actually really like all the changes that they made in the show, like creating Svetlana as like a genuine friend to Ilya instead of just like an occasional hookup for him was really nice, and I think that they did a really good job with adapting the book and the like and how it was. And but I don't know, I feel like I have to re-watch the show because it's just like after reading this book I just found I'm such a feelings before sex like reader and watcher, and like I want the feelings to coalesce before anything physical happens. And the fact that it's all physical like literally halfway through the book until we had that pause and the plot finally kicks in, that I found like incredibly annoying. And I think they're a little bit better about it in the show. I like it's I will put a date on this even though this will come out much later, but it's currently May. So, and I watched Heated Rivalry in January. So, it's been a minute since I've watched the show, but it's just like I don't know. I think that's why I liked Game Changers more, is because it was like it was a very adorable meet cute, and this is not that. It's, I guess, technically supposed to be an enemies to lovers, but like not really for me. This doesn't feel like an enemies to lovers thing. It's like, yeah, they both kind of hate each other, but it's the most mild enemies to lovers that I think I've ever read, and it's just like I want just full-blown bickering, I hate you, until like they truly realize that they love each other, which kind of happens in this one, but like less to an extreme extent. And so I just like wasn't here for it as much, and it's just I don't know, I was kind of sad that it's just like I was more frustrated with the book than like liking it. I think it's a very funny, entertaining book to read. Like I think it took me about like a week and a half to read it, and that's just because I was mostly only reading it at work. But it's just like I don't know. I wanted to like it, but I was just like, it's not Game Changers. I think that's my frustration with it, is that it's not Game Changers. And I do like the hints that it makes towards Game Changers. Like they occasionally talk about Scott. They bring in the scene with Scott at the Olympics that they have in the show as well. And then obviously they have a much bigger reaction, I think, to the kiss that Scott and Kip have in the book than they do in the show. Like Elia and Shane like genuinely talk about it. I feel like a frequent amount, being like, that's super brave and interesting and like really cool. And then Elia, mentions like he shows up to the club in Game Changers, and then Elia tells Shane that he went to the club in Heated Rivalry. And so, which the club scene isn't even in the show. So I thought that was really interesting. I am curious about the next couple. Like I've got Tough Guy sitting on my TV stand over there, and so like I definitely will get to that. I think I'm gonna take another bit of a break to read some other things. I've been slowly making progress on like all the Song of Ice and Fire books as well, but I was like, I need something to just like separate between before I read Storm of Swords, because I don't have the mental capacity to read The Red Wedding right now. So I will probably get through the other books a lot faster, hopefully. I'm also in the middle of reading like the Love Hypothesis trilogy too, which was fine. I'm not gonna review it or anything. That's just for me. But yeah. I don't know what else I want to talk about this. It was just like, I don't know. I think my overall thoughts is just that like it's a fun read and it's really fast, but I found this book incredibly frustrating to read compared to Game Changers. And I think that's just because like, and I think part of it takes into account that like Scott Hunter and Kip are older than Elia and Shane, and so they have a little bit more maturity. But I was like, Scott and Kip are two adults that have, they had a very cute meet cute. They have great communication for the most part. They're very good about communicating their thoughts and their feelings. These are two immature motherfuckers that basically fooled around for half the book and then started to realize they had feelings, and then the book like slows down and it takes so long for them to like actually communicate. And I think part of it is that they're both so afraid of like talking about their thoughts and feelings. Like Shane is so afraid of rejection, and Elia hides behind this mask of assholeness because of the way that he was raised and like who his dad and who his brother are. So it's like understandably so, but I love communication between couples, and there's no communication until they're basically at the cottage, at which point Shane has to put in the rule, hey, we should be totally honest with each other. And then it's like basically essentially like right before I think like Shane's parents find out is when Ilya genuinely was like, I love you, and it's just, oh my god. It's like they finally say it to each other, and it's not in Russian, and it's just, yeah, I just. But that is a scene that I much prefer in the show, actually, where like Ilya does the phone call with Shane and like confesses that he loves Shane, and I loved that scene in the show, and I think it's from Shane's perspective in the book for the most part, but I liked it so much more in the show. The show, it's so good. I do need to rewatch it because now I'm like, maybe I don't like the show as much as I thought I did. I still don't get the hype. That very much is still my opinion. It's like, it's fine. It's not. I don't know. It's like they're fun, but like I don't understand the massive hype that the show and the books have. But like I don't know, like it was a fun read. Will I read this book again? Probably not, because I found it super frustrating. I will probably read Game Changers again though, because I did really like that, and also just to think that it's a Stucky fanfic, like I'll read it with the imagination that it's a Stucky fanfic, even though I think of Scott and Kip visually from the show now than Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes. But yeah, I this was kind of a short review, but I think those are all my thoughts. Like I said, like it's such a short book. Like I feel like my review for it is on a whole other level because that book is 1100 pages long. But yeah, those are all my thoughts on Heated Rivalry. Like I said, like it was fine, but I was just so frustrated halfway through this book that it didn't matter. So yeah, but yeah, let me know if you have read Heated Rivalry and what your thoughts on it were. Like, subscribe. Bye bye.